We are live. Hello, hello, everyone. I can get a little drink here. My throat's dry. All right. Yeah, so like I posted on Twitter, I need to make some progress on this factory generator. I wasn't able to work on it Friday or over the weekend like I'd planned or wanted to, not really planned. I try not to actually do too much coding on the weekend. I think it's just, as a tangent, like, it's good to have a work-life balance. Let me make sure my audio and stuff's all correct. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Seems good. All right, let me know on the chat that you can see and hear me okay and everything's good on the mic. There's probably a little pop there tapping it. Just want to make sure. So anyway, thank you all for joining live. Like I said, I want to continue working on porting over this Laravel factory prefill. I think today I'm going to be a little heavier handed. I think last time we got stuck a bit with setting up the project and getting tests going and all that stuff. I think today my focus is going to be kind of making it more the way I want it to be. Again, kind of quick and dirty, a little fast and furious, a little break stuff kind of philosophy of kind of turning this into the limited focus of the package that I want it to be. Again, that's the main reason why I'm not necessarily forking this. I'm actually just copying it and pulling it straight over. So again, we talked about that last time. Krishan had started this new package. It's out there on GitHub. This will remain out there, supporting previous versions like Laravel 6 and 7, and then this new package that I'm going to be working on, the Shift version, I guess, if you will, of this package, is going to be Laravel 8 only. So while it does work to generate the factories, it's not 100%. So there's two main things I want to focus on today. Again, this isn't going to be everything. It's not going to generate maybe everything I wanted to generate, but I just want to get this MVP out because it's kind of a blocker for me in updating the test generator, which is a shift that's getting more usage. Similar to this package itself, it actually pre-fills and generates tests for you based on your existing code. So one of the steps that it does is to update your factories or generate factories, of course, because you're going to need those for testing. And so while it generates new code, Laravel 8 specific code, it won't generate the factories, and it kind of leaves that up to the user, it's just kind of a bad experience. So that's kind of why I want to push this through the full story there. So the first thing I want to do is clean up the name. I changed the name of this to like model factory generator or factory generator. So I want to kind of clean this up. I never really liked how you had the factory all, and then you kind of had also like this pre-fill notion as well. It seemed like two things that did the same thing. So you can either pre-fill and pass it a specific model name, or you can do factory all and also pass it a model name or a path or a namespace. It's a little confusing. So I'm just going to bring that down again, heavy-handed, just down to like factory all. I think this is going to be the best approach. It already has all the options. I do like the allow nullable options. I like the path, and of course the specific model name that you can specify as well. So I think all that's really nice. I also thought it was a little interesting that like the models bit was afterwards or something. It just seemed a little bit odd. So we're going to break this up a bit and basically allow really just make this this generate all command. So and I think because of that, I'm probably just going to bring it top level. This is going to be a very, very simple package. So there's really no reason to have a fancy structure. So let's bring this prefill all up. We'll refactor it. I'm going to just change this to just be something super generic like generate command. And I don't think we're going to need this one. I'm going to leave it for legacy though, just in case there is something about it we need. So let's just call this generate factory, and you can pass in. I don't understand this models bit, so again, we're gonna need to mess with that in a second. And I think these code comments are unnecessary for generic things like commands. So let's just kind of take a look. Whoops, let's take a look at what this does. Let me close down that inspector. Wrong buttons. There we go. Okay. All right, so we resolve model path. So what does this do? If you don't have a path option, then we're going to assume that your models are top level, which I'm just going to make notes. Again, this is quick and dirty, so we're just going to make this go through. So to-do, let's add a little to-do here. So Laravel 8 supports both models and model, or well, sorry, let's make that more specific. App models and app. Okay, so I want to make sure we support both of those. All right, and then option real path. What is this real path? Indicate any provided paths are pre-resolved absolute paths. I got like a little bug in here. it's annoying me. I don't know what real path does. All right, so let's change this. Generate factories for existing models. That's fine for now. Generate factories for existing models. Okay, so we get the models. If the directory exists, if the directory doesn't exist, no files found in no files in directory were found. Doesn't that really just mean directory does not exist? Yeah. Path does not exist, I think is really what that probably should say. Real path equals absolute path. Initially, only the creation of specified models was possible. That's why I added the prefill all command, which uses the simple prefill command under the hood. Yeah, that's why I didn't want to get rid of that command, because I figured it probably just did some work underneath. Just a bit lazy and didn't want to rewrite it all. Yeah, I mean, it's no problem. Again, I'm not trying to I'm totally making this package do something, very, very specific. So I don't mean any, I'm not trying to make fun of it or anything at all by any means. I'm just trying to understand it. And, anytime you come into legacy code, it's always a scenario where, yeah, you're going to kind of look at it with a tough eye, a harsh eye. And, it's not meant to be personal or anything. It's just trying to understand how it's working. Okay, so we load models in the directory, and I guess we limit them based on models. Okay, so here's the directory, and it basically goes in and we collect all the models, and we basically get their paths. Okay. So I still don't really totally understand real path. What is this about? If option real path, then use path, otherwise use the base path of path. Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't just always use, or I don't know what real path ever means, to be honest. So if real path, totally get the, yeah. I'm getting rid of real path. I have no idea what that would be used for, and if I don't know what it's used for as someone making the package, I really doubt my users would know what the hell that is. So I'm dropping it until we figure out why it was needed. Okay, so we load all the models, and we basically, I guess we get all the paths, effectively, is what this little collection pipeline does. We reflect it, we make sure that it's a subclass of model, that makes total sense, and we silently call prefill prefill factory, which I guess is the other command? Yes, it is. Okay. Own namespace. When using this flag, the model have to include the full namespace. The model have to include the full namespace. Okay. Own namespace true, interaction true. Oh, does this like ask you if you want to create models? Okay, anyway, and then we pipe that through and we kind of just say, so I guess at the very end of this generation we say what it generated, or I guess each iteration is how pipe works. I haven't actually used pipe that also. Pass the collection to the given callback and return the result. Okay, I think that just happens at the very end. You pipe it to that. So this just gets all the things we generated and basically just says, hey, we generated 17 factories. Cool. Okay, so this is actually fairly straightforward. Probably are going to need to understand that a little bit. And then real path. So we're not using real path anymore. I got rid of that. So if we're not using that anymore, then really all we're ever doing is returning the base path of whatever path you passed in. So I don't really like checks like this. Yeah, they're always so cryptic to me when you do an assignment statement in an if. Like I get how that works, but I've just never been a huge fan. Okay, so this calls prefill factory class, which is the other command, which I don't really want to keep. So what we really need to do is let's really just turn this into a service object and call it like the factory generator or something really generic. Again, we're going to clean up this naming later. I just want to move quick. I don't want to worry about like making the best names or the best code right now. Like I just want it to kind of work. So let's get rid of commands, and actually meant to call that factory generator, so let's at least get that right. Factory generator. Cool. And then it's not going to be one of these anymore, but I'm going to leave this signature for kind of just legacy reasons so we can understand how that works. And we're going to construct it so we can leave that alone, and we'll just turn handle into something simple or generic like generate, and we'll pass it the model, and that allows us to get rid of this. And that should really be all we need to do to turn this into a service class, provided it's not using like, let's see where this is using this, and just make sure it's all relative to the class. I just want to make sure it's not using like option or, yeah, here we go. So that's probably not going to be good. Factory blueprint created. I don't even know what that is. To do. Handle this status code. All right. What else do we have for this? This option allow nullable. So we're going to have to pass that in. We could probably pass that into the constructor, to be honest. Let's see if we're using anything else. This model instance, qualify class, this error. Yeah, okay, so what is this doing? Do you wish me to create model class for you? Ooh, that's crazy. There's no real benefit in creating a model class for you if you think about it, because it would be an empty model with no columns, so you'd really just get an empty class. In that case, you really should just be using artisan make anyway. So let's get rid of that. Oh wait, this is not even in. What's wrong with this? There we go. So to do what happens, or really, you know what? We should check that the model. This check should happen before calling this service class. And just to make sure this gets hit, let's just throw new unexpected value exception, unknown or undefined. What is this called? Could not find model. And I think we're using like this bracket syntax. So name. All right, what else we got here? We'll never get to the false, that's fine. So this confirm a factory already exists. That's interesting. I'm going to leave that alone so it just fails. So there is some output that's happening here. I don't know what this own namespace is. That doesn't seem to make much sense to me. Could not find any data for your factory. Did you run? Laravel 8 does a simple check if there is a models directory. Oh, so Adrian, so you're saying it just checks to see if app models exists, and if so, that's the one it uses? Yeah, I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't be that simple. There's only 2 conventions. Yeah, I don't think we need to worry about this. If there's no data, I mean, we would just generate an empty factory. Like it's not a big deal to me. So I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay, cool. So I think we just have a couple of these options, which probably need to get passed in to the constructor, kind of with this type guesser would be my approach. But just to kind of make this work, let's change this to factory generator, so that's correct. We're not going to call silent anymore, so really what we could do, I mean, honestly, the thing could even be static because it's just generating some code. But yeah. Yeah, see, this is the other thing. I never like these compound statements. Look at this. It's doing like an and newing stuff up. It's cray-cray. Okay. So let's unpack this. If it's a subclass of model, so this is a guard clause, effectively, is what we're after. Okay, so really we want to filter it. What would be really sweet is if we actually generated a service provider object and then we just mapped them all into that. That could really be what happens. So you really just say, this is the original filter. All right. So we're going to load models, we're going to filter that, and then we're going to map it, each model, basically through our service. We really don't even need to return anything here. It just gets piped. So it's kind of just, it's almost like an each. And really, even better yet, it could be like a map into. But we'll just do something like this, like service or generator, and then generate. Again, these are super ugly names, but let's just keep going. So we'll bring in the generator, and we'll bring this up here, and this will be, we'll basically just resolve a factory generator class. And that way we leverage everything we need to leverage from the container. And this will be generator. There's that bug again. Get out of here. All right, and then we're not going to do any of that. We will need to handle this nullable bit. And really, we should always generate. Again, at this point, we should always generate that factory. So, okay, let's format this. I got some broken crap here. All right, that's why I like having these on separate lines. There we go, that's better. And then, what's wrong with this? What is your issue here? Did we not return something? Are we supposed to return something? I don't know why that's curly braced. Missing return statement, okay. Oh, it's a command, so we need to return 0 because it was successful. There we go. Awesome. And now, because of that formatting, PHP Storm really jacked it up. In fairness, I had invalid code, so there we go. Oh, it did it down here too. So gross. All right, cool. Okay, so Adrian, let's go ahead and fix this since we have this. So basically, let's change this. So let's get that option. And does option have a default? Or the default's just null, I guess. Option key, how does that work? If you pass in path, you're going to get that set up. So we could basically say if not is null on path, whoops, path, then we'll return the base path. Otherwise, if, are we doing the file exists? I think we are, right? File exists, yeah. Is there like an is directory? There is an is directory, way better. So let's do that, and we'll say something like app path models, right? So if you have an app models, then that's what we're going to want to do. So app path models. Otherwise, we're just flat out returning the app path, and that's the assumption. So what's wrong here? What did I break? Cannot use... Oh, more bad code. There we go. All right, so where am I missing my brace here? If app path, oh. There we go. Okay, so if you've passed in a path, so long as it's not null, meaning you passed it in, then send the absolute path of that path back. Which is kind of weird because I'm going to assume base path handles the right stuff there. But yeah, that seems a little weird. I would think you would just return path. Otherwise, we're going to return app path on models if that directory exists. So if you're using the models, which is the new convention, the new old convention. And then let's fix this as well. There we go. I think that should be better. Let's just run all this through the syntax checker, because that's some pretty ugly coding there. Okay, supposedly we're all good. Let's just try that one more time. Okay, no syntax errors detected. Okay, I'm going to bring up another tab in my console, and we're going to go to that L8, and I believe we were using, we were doing something here with the factory before. I just don't remember. I think to get it working, we had to do something a little bit interesting. Well, let's just try this first of all. Okay, so let's do composer dump auto load. We might have to do a composer update. I changed a bunch of the namespaces. Let's see if composer update gets it. When you path something like that, when you do like a composer path to run against something locally, I don't know how you trigger a refresh when you change a bunch of the names. Because I changed all this stuff to shift. And obviously we just moved a bunch of class files around, so I'm not sure if that refreshes it or not. While it's doing that, let's fix these paths because they're going to be a little broken. So it's all just under the factory generator now, just a straight command. Speaking of which, the service provider probably, doesn't put this in the right spot. So let's clean that up. There's our generate command. All right. It's still not showing up, which is strange, but that's okay. Oh, we don't need it because we're same level. And then we're going to load in stubs views. Load views from. Load views from. We're not going to be calling view anymore, so we probably don't need that. And again, don't need the generic comments. All right, let's try to composer update it again. What's the problem here? Nore. I thought we changed that. We'll see. And nothing really changed in the type guesser because this is. It'd be nice, I think. I'm not sure if you're still on, Krishan, but it'd be nice if we could pull this type guesser out. I think we talked about that at one point because I think it's something that's equally shareable, obviously between both packages, but also other people could use this, so this could be cool to share in like that faker registry thing that we were talking about. Okay, why is installation request for Laravel 8? Oh, you know what I did? I totally changed the name of this all the way down. So, I changed this in composer.json, not composer lock, composer.json. We are not pulling in this anymore. It's actually going to be Laravel shift factory generator. And then did we pull this in? I think we did. Now let's try composer update again. Alright, cool. What's wrong with you? Installation request. Let's do this. I'm going to remove -rf, the vendor folder, and composer lock. And let's just straight try composer install again. Because, yeah, I changed. Probably helps when you save that, too. Let's run this again. Let me make sure I got these names right so we can start testing this. Laravel shift factory generator. That should be the new name. There we go. Alright, I just didn't save it over here. So yeah, the path, actually, that's kind of interesting. The path name doesn't have to matter. I think Composer just scans that other directory and then looks for that Composer JSON file and then matches it up based on name, which is pretty sweet. There we go, we're symlinking, so we should be getting our new classes now. So now basically we're going to see if we can generate that command. And of course it's not going to run without Docker since I don't have a local MySQL install running. But I do want to see that it preloads these. So yes, it did preload the Laravel shift factory generator, which is nice. Let's see if we can see that command. So it should be under the generate factory, generate factories for existing models. Nice. It looks like Laravel doesn't have a period at the end of their descriptions, so I'm just, again, going to follow suit. So let's just drop that little period as we're going through this stuff. And let's try to do generate factory, and we'll kind of see what happens. Okay, call to undefined member, or call to member get option in the factory generator, which makes sense. That's one of those this options that we did not fix. So let's fix this so we can get past these errors, and then we'll focus on the actual generation of the models. So probably what needs to happen is we need to pass in this allow nullable to just be a property on the class. I don't think this own namespace matters. We're already passing in model, so really this is the last thing that's left. Again, I don't know what that own namespace was or did, so I'm not going to worry about it right now. Let's just pass in this private allow nullable, or really this should be, what should this really be called? I feel like it should be called like set nullables, or we'll keep with the allow nullable for now, but the allow just, I don't know, it doesn't feel right to me. So default's false, and we'll pass it in now. I don't know, how does that work when you resolve something from the container? Can you resolve some things and pass in others? I know you can, I just don't remember the syntax. Let's mess with the container. finding, let's see, the make method maybe? Here we go. You pass it in by name effectively. Okay. So let's do allow nullable, and we will initialize that. Cool. And there is no parent anymore, so let's get rid of that because this is our own service class. And we can get rid of that constructor because it really doesn't need to call anything and it's not creating a new command anymore, so let's get rid of that. So now we have this nullable, so let's go back to those options. So I don't know what this own namespace is. So we're just going to drop it for now, and we'll figure that out later. I mean, there's comments here, so this really needs to be more like this, allow nullable. There we go. And I think that gets rid of all the options. So the only thing that's left is probably just some of that output, which is okay. So let's bring through this allow nullable now. So to get that passed through, we just need to send it into resolve. I think resolve does take parameters, so let's just see if we can do that by saying something like allow nullable. We'll let the type guesser be resolved, and we will pass this in through the option, which I don't think I have in my paste buffer anymore, so this is going to be this option, allow nullable. Alright, let's see if that gets us a little farther. Okay, call to undefined method confirm. So looks like we still have some stuff happening in the generator, but we're getting a little farther. Confirm. Okay, so factory exist, database factories, factory name. I tell you what, if one exists for now, I don't think cancel blueprint creation. I don't know what that is. So we're just going to get rid of that info. And if it already exists, I think we're not going to confirm overriding. We might add like a force command or something later. I think we'll just shy away from it for now. I think that's kind of the MVP approach. If you already have a factory, you're not going to want to generate one. I think it's safe to just kind of shy away from that, to bail out early on that one. Okay, 2 factories created, which is impressive because I don't think I have Docker running anymore. So that's strange. What did we create? Oh, shite. We're not a Git repository. Can't see the changes. Let's cat database factories post factory. I am skeptic that this got created. Let's do this. rm-rf database factories. Sorry. Database factories star. That's what I want. And let's try running this again. There we go. Okay, it said 2 factories generated, but technically those factories already existed and they got returned. So that's actually a little bit of a bug there. We probably should not return. Yeah, should not be counted as a generated factory. So we'll just to-do that. Okay, yeah, so it said it generated, but really it skipped them. So this makes sense, though. This is actually kind of where I want to be right now. So we're going to keep hacking quick and dirty here. Let's keep going. What I want to do next before we fire up Docker is I need this to inspect the model and make sure that that has factory trait is added. I think if we can do that, then for very, very conventional Laravel applications, this would work, meaning like you pretty much are just doing app models, you don't have a custom namespace, and you're using MySQL. then this is good enough to kind of get you started. Now, in fairness, the test generator is a bit opinionated. It does at least assume MySQL. I can do a fast follow with the custom namespaces pretty easy. I mean, all the pieces are in place here to manage that by passing a different path name. So what we need to do next is when we write, let's find out where we write the factory. Okay, so we analyze the columns, we map them to table properties, we merge in, I guess, the properties we found. So this analyzer is the other package that looks at the model. I think it figures out additional properties based on like relationships and so forth. So that's good. And then filter out anything, make sure we have unique, get just the values, and then we pipe that into this write factory. Okay. If status code is 0, when is it ever not 0? Kind of like never. So let's get rid of all that. And really what we want to do is we need to take this model class and basically update model, or let's say something like add trait, add factory trait. There we go. All right, and we'll just say model class. That should be good enough to get started. And let's make this method. And are these methods public or private? That's protected. All right, we'll keep the visibility protected. Okay, and it's definitely not a bool. Okay. So probably the easiest thing to do, I was doing a little research on this over the weekend. I did kind of look at this, and there is like a Nettle PHP clash generator. This is something, Tom is his name. He had suggested this to me a while back, generator. He had suggested this to me a while back for Blueprint, and it actually takes kind of like an API approach to generating classes, and they're nice and pretty printed. It's actually kind of nice. Unfortunately, though, it's limited to the fact that you're really only generating new content. So again, something like Blueprint, which we know we're kind of generating new code, or even in the case of generating the factories, we could use something like this, and it would be pretty handy. It doesn't work for existing classes, or at least not very well. And to the point of some of the issues, it's not necessarily this package's fault. It's a little tricky to manage that kind of stuff. But the point here is that this is kind of cool, but it's not going to work in our scenario. I did a quick search for PHP code generation, add import like parser, and I think I came across, well, anyways, in Nikic parser, I came across a thread, PHP, what was it? It was a very specific search. I should have saved the link. There was a way how to change code. It was a GitHub issue. Let me try to find it. Give me a second here. What did I search for? PHP add import. I think it was like AST Nikic parser code generator. Well, I'm not exactly sure where the link was. Oh, you know what? I probably still have it on my laptop. Let's use the power of shared Chrome, and we'll get it to pull up that way. How do I... There we go. Cool. All right, cool. Thanks, Chrome. Cool. Okay, so anyways, someone had asked this question like 4 years ago and said, hey, how can I parse a file, add something, and generate it with the updated content, which is exactly what I want to do. And ironically, they even had a model, which is awesome, because clearly they're dealing with Laravel as well. But when they regenerated it, it kind of got a little funky. It pulled the stuff from the parent class. It didn't really do just that trait. So basically, they said, yeah, it's possible, but you're really not going to get the same output due to some pretty printing and inheritance. Even Nikic himself had said, this is a request for this library, the parser, but it's just not supporting that. And I've read this comment 41 before, even for Laravel, because I use, or sorry, even for Shift, because I use the parser to do a lot of AST, and I've always wished I could manipulate the tree and put the code back out while kind of preserving code comments and formatting, and it's just not easy. So I've read this number 41 comment probably 41 times. So what I end up doing is actually kind of funny. Is I actually take this exact approach. So this thread was actually really perfect. But basically, they use the AST to kind of figure out placement in the file, and then they kind of start to do string manipulation to do what they need to do. It's not pretty. But I can tell you from 34,000 shifts, it works. It is effective. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do this. And we're going to probably just steal some code from Shift so I don't have to rewrite all of it. But just to pseudocode it out, and then I heard some comments, so I'll jump back and see what y'all are saying in there. So feel free to keep throwing some stuff in there, and I'll catch up. But basically, we want to reflect. The easiest thing to do is going to be to reflect the model class, see if it already has the has factory trait. If so, return early kind of stuff. And then otherwise, we would search for imports, add has factory, or sorry, search for traits, and then do the same thing per the suggestion. We just do the exact same thing, search for imports, and then add the has factory, or better yet, import has factory. So pretty straightforward in a pseudocode perspective, but it's going to be a lot of code to actually do kind of these searches. But I think it's going to be the easiest approach. We can start with this pretty straightforward. I think if we just go out, yeah, we already looked at this last time actually. This uses an object, class instance, or a string class name. So beautiful. We can just take this and see that it has it directly. So let's borrow this for a second. Class uses, and I think we already have the model class. Great. So this will be real simple. We can just say class uses model class, and I guess we pass it the trait too, right? Oh no, this gives us an array, sorry. Right? Or false on success or error. So what do we want to do when there's an error checking the class uses? I think in that scenario, if for some reason we couldn't parse it out, I think in that scenario, we would probably want to assume that they don't have it and add it. I'd rather there be a syntax error of like, hey, this trait already exists, than someone writing a bunch of models and like none of it working. Or sorry, someone generating a bunch of factories and like it just doesn't work because they missed like this one line that they didn't know about to import. So I think it's a lot better to get an error that's a little more obvious than no error with no direction on like what auto magic happened when you ran this package. So that tends to be the way I fall. I don't think everyone, goes that way, but that's kind of what I like. Okay, so basically, we would now. What do we get out of this? Do we get like fully qualified path names, or do we get something like has trait? The above will output something similar to foo foo. Trait foo, use foo. Trait of not loaded. Class uses not loaded, true. Use autoload to load the not loaded class. That is interesting. Get all traits including used by parent classes and other. Oh man, I didn't even think about that. That's going to be interesting. Yeah, what if you're like extending a base class which like already has the has trait? Ugh, that's gross. Again, I'd rather there be an error, so we're not going to worry about that right now. Here's what we're going to do. Let's just do a print R on these traits for now, just to kind of get an idea of what's going on. But my guess is we would do something like rather simple, like traits. So what we'll probably want to say is we want to make sure that's an array. And then to that point, let's var dump this. And then if in that array, needle, haystack, always get that backwards, has trait, and again, this might be the fully qualified class name, but we're going to assume that it's not. If it does, then we're just going to return, right? Pretty simple. So we took care of all that. We're just going to kind of see what this gives us back, because I'm not entirely sure. So now for the magic here, again, I don't want to have to fire up Docker just yet. Oh, sorry, heard some more comments. Let me check those out. Own namespace was used for projects which didn't use the recommended. Okay, yeah, so you're right. We might need to be a little smarter about the app namespace. That might, yeah. I'll need to support that. So yeah, I'll probably call it something else, but yeah, we'll have to figure that out. Would be more fun to try to get it to run without MySQL. Yes, it would be nice to do that. That's a lot more work than I want to put into this today. And again, the test generator uses MySQL. So that's all I need to support for right now. Ryan, hey Ryan, how's it going? Thanks for joining. Adrian, I use the package you're talking about. Yes. Yeah. Great package. It's just doesn't work so well for existing classes. It can work. It just doesn't. Not for this specific case. And again, this is not an easy problem to solve. As we saw from this 4-year-old comment, they're still working. Even the Nikic parser library is still kind of working on this. There's comments to this still, like trying to get this to work just right. So it's interesting. You wrote the extractor. I don't know what the extractor is. I guess it's part of that package. Cool. Either way, good stuff. Okay, so let's see if we're still breaking things. Yes, column name. Okay, so we're not going to get down to where we want to go. We're not going to get down to where we want to go until we kind of fire up MySQL, which we can totally do here in a minute. But let's try to pull over this. I already have this code in Shift, so let's just go grab what we need. It's in the utility helper. It's kind of a generic name, but think of this like a facade. Well, not even think of it. It is a facade. It's the underlying service class for the facade. And basically here I already have these things like add trait, add import, so you can get an idea for kind of how this works. So I have these methods like find line for trait, and then I patch in whatever I want to patch, which is effectively like add line kind of stuff. So what we care about is this find line for trait. I think, yeah, actually this is kind of an old piece of code. It's actually using PHP code sniffer instead of Nikic's parser. So that's kind of interesting. And I think some of it even just uses PHP's parse tokens, which is kind of nuts as well. So let's take the opportunity to make this Nikic, or use the Nikic parser, and then I'll backfill it. That'll actually be a lot better because that'll make shift symmetrical with these other things. So let's do that. So let's just kind of write this from scratch. And again, we can take a look at what they're doing here to kind of parse these tokens. I do think their traverser, I remember that. I think their traverser is a bit more technical. It's not as easy to kind of loop through the statements, the syntax tree, the way that we want. I kind of don't want to add an extra dependency either. Let's just check something out real quick. Get tokens. Or it's parse tokens. That's what I'm after. There's actually a parser built inside. Or what is it called? Or it's like tokens get all. Yeah, there it is. What a crappy name. Okay, split given source into PHP tokens. Yes, this is good. This is what I want. This would really just loop over a bunch of tokens, which is kind of fine, I think. So let's do this. Let's mess with this real quick ourselves because it's just PHP. So let's do a new PHP file and example.php. And no, we're not going to add that to Git. Let's just paste this here. Here's kind of our source code, and let's just do something silly like use some trait. And here we'll do something like use exception. All right, and let's just kind of take a look and see what this outputs, right? So we're not going to be there. We're going to be back in our model generator. So let's look at PHP example. Whoops. Double PHP lines there. My bad. All right, cool. So we have a TUse, and a TUse. So, okay, this just gives us the token. Let's not worry about for each. I think tokens. Let's check this out. Does this give you like a line? Oh no, it gives you like the name. So it has a use. So it does give you a line, which is, it's kind of nice because then you could just go the line before. Okay, let's see here. Christoph, oh, you got something? I can't copy from the chat. So annoying. Laravel factories reloaded. All right, let's see what you got. Laravel factories. It really wouldn't be that hard doing it with parse token. You'd really just have to loop over it, and when you find a use statement, you really just kind of determine, hey, is this a import or is this a trait? And that's kind of all you need. But we'll go from there. So yeah, I don't really know what I'm looking at in here. Let's do token get all. All right, the extractor, nice. Token get all. Okay, so what do you got here? Okay, you loop over each token. If you find a namespace, then yeah, you just set that to true. Okay. Namespace separators, use statements. Okay. I got you. T class, you break once you find a T class. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we'd really end up doing like almost the same thing. We would really just loop over it and go until we found traits. And in the process, we would, if we found a use statement, we would basically say, hey, have we already seen a T class? Okay, well then that use statement is for a trait, theoretically. We don't totally know it's for a trait though, in fairness. I mean, you could have a use statement as like a closure. That that's where the Nikic parser stuff like is a little more helpful. So I think for use statements or for import statements, it would be very easy to find what we needed there. But for traits, it would be a little bit difficult. Oh, we're approaching the hour here. Let's make a decision. Or you know what? I tell you what, let's do this. I'm gonna break for a quick snack. So let's do that. I'm gonna break and I'm gonna think on this while I get some lunch, and then I think I'll just keep live streaming in the afternoon. I realize not as many people will be able to show up for that, but that's okay. I'm still gonna work on it anyway. So yeah, I think that's a better chance for me to digest which path to go here, because I think we can make something quick and hacky, definitely using token get all. But again, if I can use it in Shift, it's not really kind of a Yagni thing because I get it in like all 3 packages now, and it's going to be a lot more robust if I use the parser. So let me think on that for a little bit, and I will post a new link here on Twitter just to this thread in a minute. We'll do another live stream here in about 30 to 45 minutes. So for those that want to come back and join, great. If not, you can watch it down the road, but hopefully I'll get this figured out and get that MVP hit. So, all right, well, thank you all for joining this, what is now going to be part 1, and hopefully I'll see you in my afternoon or after lunch for part 2. See ya.